Alright, there. I am person 13. Joining me today is Anthony, and
Hello.
we will be your commentators for this race. And it looks like they are just about to start.
So this game is very different from the Wii U version, if any of you have played that.
Yeah, so this game's controls differ a little bit, making dismisses less optimal and charging a little bit better in my opinion, but different nonetheless.
Yeah.
As well as a whole host of new invisible walls.
And there's 3 control schemes. Well, there's 3 control methods. So one, you can just do the classic control scheme where you just use a control stick to move the cursor and the captain. 2, you can have it to where you either use gyro or you use the stick, and then 3, you use gyro to move the cursor.
Yeah, so right at the start here, you will see these runners. They are taking these yellow Pikmin.
And we're just going through a tutorial here.
Yeah, so this is the tutorial, just destroying some mushrooms and moving on as quickly as we can. In the past, there would be a specific... You would want to destroy specific mushrooms because that info actually gets saved and you would move through that area later on in the game. But with recent... Well, I shouldn't say recent. So that was back on the Wii U version for quite a long while. And then just in the past year, some new glitches were found so we can skip that portion entirely. And you'll see that later on.
So, Rixoro's about to just build the bridge. It's one of the 4 bridges that these runners are gonna build. So, this bridge, the only thing you can really do to speed it up is to push the Pikmin. Because they're not moving that fast. And then on the other side, we can see the copad, which is what we're trying to get to. Rixoro using something that was discovered where you can, if you hold down the left stick, you can actually move the map a bit faster. And then now you're just gonna grow 20 reds.
So this game has a bit of a bad habit where there's a lot of controls for the game, and they don't tell you all the controls. So it was a good while before any of us figured out that you can speed up the radar panning, because it just doesn't tell you anywhere. Right, Rixoro got those sheer grubs grabbed mostly nicely. They can be a bit finicky at times. We will have to see how Pi is doing.
Having a bit of trouble here.
And yeah, both the runners got through that part rather nicely, much better than
Rixoro going for a trick called Steven Nip. Basically, It speeds up the sprouting of the 5 pellet.
And it looks like he actually got it.
Yeah.
So that's nice. It's always nice to save a second on your first split.
And then now, we're just gonna get to the SS Drake. The final obstacle is a dirt wall, which 20 Pikmin can destroy no problem. Alright, Rixoro's done with day 1. Now he's gonna go through an end of day cutscene. So on day 2, we're gonna start off with a lot of multitasking, but and it's gonna start to get a bit more linear afterwards.
So I actually just noticed Rixoro's actually running off of not unused save files, so he lost a tiny bit of time there because he had to tell the game that he wants to erase the old playthrough and confirm that he wants to save over it. So just something kind of interesting of note.
Anyway, so here we're just gonna build the bridge and grow on some more breads.
Yes, and you will notice that the runners will be doing something rather strange. They're gonna throw a few Pikmin across the bridge here and get those Pikmin to start working on a wall early. That's because ideally we would barely spend any time there, so we just get that wall, speed it up very nicely.
The less time we spend waiting, the better.
And some runners like to get that butterfly. Technically our routing doesn't actually need it, but it's always nice to have a bit of a few extra Pikmin.
And another thing you'll see both runners doing is once they get past the dirt wall, they're gonna flower out their Pikmin and using nectar.
Yeah, so flower Pikmin are very...
Each drop of nectar can flower 10 Pikmin. And
yes,
unlike the first 2 games.
Having flowers is, of course, very nice. It is so in all the Pikmin games. And flower Pikmin move nice and quickly, which is very nice. Seems Rixoro had a bit of trouble with that bridge. If you are walking along the bridge as it finishes and falls into place, then the Pikmin will get very confused and just refuse to move anywhere. So he recovered pretty nicely with a dismiss there.
After 19 years, the Pikmin have not gotten any smarter at all.
Now Pie here's just doing stuff in a slightly different order. You'll notice he sort of waited a bit for the bridge to finish getting in place before he went over it. So, yeah. And now they're freeing the rock Pikmin. These are the second type of Pikmin in the game. They are very overpowered in everything they do.
And Rixoro's gonna grow on a few rocks because 6 is not enough. And on his way out, he's gonna after he gets out, he's gonna grab the strawberry, which is one of the two fruits that are grabbed in the run.
Yes, so if you didn't know, Pikmin 3 has an overarching mechanic where to keep playing the game, you need to keep getting fruit juice, and so the farthest you can get without any juice at all is day 4, and the minimum number of days to complete the game is 7. So to do so, we need 3 cans of juice, and we also get an extra half a can because that skips a oh no, we're out of juice cutscene on final day. So that strawberry you see there is 1 can of juice, and we will be getting another fruit later on that is worth 2.5 cans.
Now Rixoro's gonna multitask plucking the Pikmin and carrying that on that crystal wall. And he is getting closer to facing his first boss. He's gonna let the Pikmin grab some. He's gonna grow some Pikmin and using the Blowhawks during the fight. And he's also gonna build the bridge during the boss fight.
Yeah, so many of the runners do something where they sacrifice a few extra rock Pikmin to fully build the bridge during the boss fight, and that allows them to go through one less loading zone, because every time you go for a loading zone or swap to a captain that's in a different area, it actually pauses the game for a tiny little bit. So they do so to minimize that, at the cost of having a few less rock Pikmin for the upcoming boss fight. And you'll see here our runners are approaching the armored Maudad.
Boss is a joke.
Well, it is a joke, and it is also very random, and the bane of my runs. So...
Yeah. So, it takes 5 to break the tail, and then... Rixoro's gonna call off of the Maudad to force it to come down. Since
so you saw there... sorry, go ahead, Anthony.
If you let him shake off it, and he is gonna go into the ceiling, and you'll have to wait for him to come down, which loses a lot of time.
Yeah, so in addition to that, you saw there Rixoro's Maudad went left and made a sharp U-turn. That is very good because it means the Maudad will get onto the ground quicker. It looks like Pi is actually opting to do what can be seen as a slightly more consistent strat, because I'm pretty sure it saves time over bad RNG the other way. Because what happens is the Maudad can climb up and around the entrance, and that takes loads of time because he always stops for a long time on the wall, and as long as he's on the wall, he is invincible.
Now Rixoro's gonna grow a few more reds, and he's gonna flap over them before the phone gets back. Rather than just sitting there and waiting for it to get back.
And you'll see there Rixoro skipped the cutscene and immediately ended the day. That cutscene was getting the phone, and that will allow us to access the next area, which will be the distant tundra.
On day 3, we will have our first sequence break, and quite possibly the largest in the run.
Yeah, so about that, Pikmin 3 is a very linear game. especially when compared to Pikmin 1 and 2. So, to get to the next area or unlock the next thing, you need to complete a specific flag. In this case, it's collecting a phone. Later on, it'll also be stuff like just killing a boss or rescuing a character whom we will see later. And so what that does unfortunately mean is there's no huge sequence breaks in this run where you can just skip entire days. 7 days is the minimum you can do with or without glitches. But what we can do is skip the smaller stuff. So in Distant Chandra, there is this huge double bridge we have to normally build, and we skip that, as well as a rather lengthy section where we go through 2 caves and the tutorial area from earlier. Of course, first we have these Pikmin. You might remember these are the yellow Pikmin, and they can conduct electricity. So we use them to connect this line, and that saves the yellow onion.
Now you need to grow 20 yellows to get out of this cave. If there is theoretically it is directly faster to exit with 5, but you have to do like a really hard glitch. And we don't even know if it's faster or not.
Yeah, so the theory behind that goes that past day 3, we don't actually need yellow specifically for any area in the game. We often just use them because before Pikmin 3 Deluxe, with all the extra nectar eggs came out, we would use yellows because our route would always involve having all of them as flowers. And so now that we don't need that, and also because the boss fight of this area is now much easier and doesn't take quite as many yellows as it did before, we could theoretically skip that iron ball that the runners roll down through an out-of-bounds glitch.
The problem with this is the glitch is really hard.
Yeah, so it is a rather tricky glitch. It involves barely missing a slide and walking along the slide to walk up the wall and out of bounds. And now Rixoro, you'll see it looks like he walked up a wall. No, that wall is a floor. So he just walked up the floor and now he's out of bounds. He's going to walk over this root, which is also a floor. And then he's going to use the side of the root, which is a wall, to go past the invisible wall. And it looks like he actually fell off.
He fell off.
That's going to give Pi a nice bit of chance to catch up.
There's a faster way to get up where you use the stitch bug to carry up, but it only saves 1 to 2 seconds, and it's not worth it, as it is much harder.
Yes, and using the snitch bug to get there is also very random, as you are dependent then on the snitch bug facing the wall and being a long distance away from the wall. So now we will see if Pi can get this glitch nice and quickly, and also if Rixoro can get the next part here. There is Rixoro clipped in bounds. So there is a very narrow seam of out-of-bounds collision there. If you go too far to the left, you fall out of bounds. If you go too far to the right, you clip in bounds as Rixoro did, taking the walk of shame through the cave. Or you'll just hit the loading zone, which extends slightly out of bounds. So that means that now Pi is ahead. So yeah, I have heard it said that Day 3 is very cursed on the lead runner.
Now, what Pi's gonna do is called a long whistle trick. Basically, if a Pikmin is in your party, when you go through a loading zone, and they just follow you. So no matter what. Yeah, it's used quite a few times in this run.
Yeah, so coming here, this is the second boss fight of the game. This is the Behemoth Bat, although I have still no idea how to pronounce that properly. And the gimmick of this boss is that he doesn't like light, so by lighting up these light bulbs with wires, then you can stun him and kill him. Normally, you would have to build a bridge and turn on a huge light so that he's constantly in the light and constantly vulnerable to attacks. But we skip all of that because this strat is very easy. And it looks like Pi got that in 2 cycles. We do that through looking for specific points in his sort of stunned animation cycle. Because he can only really check to see if he's at sort of a soft damage cap.
Oh, Rixoro going for a faster long whistle strat.
Yeah, so Rixoro did a slightly riskier long whistle there. Riskier because the Pikmin can just run into water, because they're idiots, and they cannot swim. And we'll see, Rixoro looks like a little bit late on that first cycle, so we'll have to see if he still gets the second cycle, and he did, which is very nice.
Now moving on to day 4, is probably the easiest day on the entire run. And so we're gonna see our first captain clip.
Yeah, so how captain clips work, basically if you hold a captain and then you whistle, like you hold a captain as if you're going to throw it and then you whistle, the captain will sort of get dropped a little bit in front of you. And you can do so in some spots in just a specific way where between the walls and the captain that you're playing as, the captain you just whistled will clip out of bounds. And this one in particular has a rather precise angle. There is a setup
probably the
for it.
hardest one in the entire run.
It looks like Pi did not go for the setup, but he still got it very nicely. Looks like he's going to be killing this whip tongue here for a bit of safety. And you were saying, Anthony?
Now you have to walk backwards and then long whistle to get rid of the invisible wall, and then you can long whistle out. Anyways, so now Pi's gonna be making his way to the sandboaching mirror slug.
We will have to see how Rixoro does with the same captain clip. You'll notice that Rixoro isn't adjusting his camera here. I think he is going for his setup. If you do not adjust your camera at all before the captain clip, then you can very easily go for the farthest down left position and get the angle much more consistently. And you'll also see Rixoro's going for a slightly riskier strat here, whereas Pi killed the Whip-Tongue Bulborb, that is that white creature there. Rixoro will just be doing a long whistle and running past him. And he got it very nicely. That's a nice little bit of time save. And now back on Pi's side, you'll see he's fighting the third boss of the game. This is a sandboaching mirror slug.
So whenever he uses the quicksand attack, you're supposed to toss a bomb in there, but you can just charge it and it will be just as effective.
Yeah, if you've played this game casually, that strat will look terrifying to you. I can assure you, as long as you have enough Pikmin and you're not right on top of it, it is completely safe.
Now, if we were on any harder difficulty where the mirror slug would have any more health, we would bring in bombs. Then you could feed it more, or Pikmin. Sorry, you can feed it multiple bombs and it'll deal more damage.
Yeah, so if you have played the Wii U version, or if you've played the Deluxe version or have only ever played Hard and Ultra Spicy mode, You'll notice that these bosses seem to be dying a bit quicker than normal. That's because they all have half health compared to what they had in the Wii U version.
Rixoro going for a bomb strat. Where instead of discharging him on the last cycle, you get a bomb and then you feed it to him. According to Ice Cube, that saves like 1 second. And Pi is gonna blow up the stone wall to get at the going back a bit faster. And we are also gonna grab another fruit. This is a second fruit that we need to grab, and we'll ensure a 7 days. We're also gonna get the Whipping Mobile Earth for some rocks. That's just for safety reasons. Doesn't really lose any time.
Yes, and indeed, if anything, it saves a little bit of time, because we want a good number of rocks for a much later boss fight.
Now, heading into day 5, which is easily the hardest day in the entire run. We have 3 glitches that we have to perform. And we're gonna start off with one. Pi is grabbing 78 Pikmin, and so then he can go 28 wings. And we're gonna do another captain clip here, except this time it's a lot easier.
Yeah, so of course.
The game expects us to build a bridge to the wing onion. We're not gonna do that.
Yes, and if you were familiar with speedruns of the Wii U version, you'll notice that that captain clip seems kind of new. They did indeed attempt to patch the old corner clip, which is what we used to use. Corner clips as a whole are still in this game, but they slightly tweaked the collision in parts, so all the useful ones are gone, pretty much. With exceptions including the one you saw in Distant Tundra. That was another example of a corner clip.
It's like they just added an invisible wall so that you couldn't corner clip right there for early wings. Now Pi's gonna unlock this dam so then we can enter the next zone. And he's also gonna flower 10 wings. If you're familiar with the EU version, you'll know that it's possible to skip the DM by getting the paper bag down from below. But that's not possible anymore, and now you have to take the lily pad.
Yes, and I am noticing here, it looks like Rixoro had slightly more optimal routing than Pi, so he is saving a few seconds and closing the gap between the two of them. So it's always nice to have a bit closer of a race, especially this garden. And here you'll notice the runners charge exactly 20 Pikmin to onto those berries, and those berries will give us spicy sprays later on. And I think you will see very quickly why they're useful.
Now Pi is going to be setting up for our next sequence break. So the game expects us to be on the bridge to get to the fifth boss. Sorry, the fourth boss. But then we obviously can just skip it. So it's possible to stand on top of fruits if you throw precisely onto the persimmon, and then from there you can throw out of bounds.
Yes, and this persimmon is very nice for this trick because it has a bit of a dip in the center, so it is very difficult to fall off of the persimmon. And you'll notice we just take it a bit out of that area. There are invisible walls around the area with the 3 orange bulb orbs, because the developers like putting invisible walls, except they're still terrible at it. And indeed, you just saw their Pi, and Rixoro is doing it now. They're going a bit farther out of bounds than you might expect. They're specifically to go around an outer invisible wall. Now, coming up is the 4th boss fight of the game, also, in my opinion, the easiest boss fight. This is the Scorn Maestro, and it is a very heavily scripted fight. It is impossible to do it in less than 2 cycles.
For on harder difficulties and the Wii U version.
Yes, and you'll notice they kill a few Scornets here that both ends the attack sooner, and if you kill enough of them, then the Scornet will wait much less time for the next cycle. Because otherwise the Scornet will just sort of sit there until the end of time. And you'll see Rixoro is using his spray here. Oh, it looks like Pi unfortunately got a few of his Pikmin caught by the Maestro. That's going to give Rixoro a nice chance to catch up even more. And they use sprays here because sprays will give all Pikmin the same amount of damage. And because wing Pikmin normally deal half the normal amount of damage, it doubles their strength, and because they can fly and it makes them faster, spicy sprays just turn them into absolute killing machines.
Alright, now we have the hardest trick in the entire run, in my opinion at least. We're gonna be doing Louis Clip. So we skipped this bridge, but we never got rid of the invisible wall. So right now we're trying to get Louis through the invisible wall.
And there are a few different ways we can do this. One of the easiest strats involves using the papaya fruits to just push Louis through.
But that is a bit slow.
So here the runners will just be sort of forcing Louis through with nothing but
Rixoro had a Pi now.
pure brute force. Rixoro got very lucky on the clip, and he is now barely in the lead.
So there's 2 ways to do it fruitless. One, you can and you use the cutscene to force him through. Second is to pick him up with wings and keep dropping him and pushing him to the left.
Yeah, so there's sort of 3 invisible walls there. It's kind of weird. One of them faces the way, and that's the one that Louis normally gets stuck on. But there's 2 others on both sides that will push Louis the other way and therefore down the ledge. So I'm pretty sure the way that clip works is we essentially just push Louis so that he gets the collision of those invisible walls, and that pushes him down the ledge. And now here they're just collecting some Pikmin that are very confused in their pathing. Those were the ones who were collecting the berries. And ideally you would always end this day with exactly one spicy spray. And of course the moment they collect Louis and the last spray, if it's close, they will end the day. Now coming up is day 6, and day 6, depending on how you do with very messy boss fights, is either a very easy day or a very difficult day. So on day 6 we will be... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Anthony.
So, very recently, there has been a strat discovered for where you build the bridge. And let's see if any of these runners will opt for that.
Yes, and our reasoning for that is winged Pikmin are very nice because they can, in theory, carry objects over gaps. However, they are very slow to compensate for that, so you'll often see we use grounded Pikmin instead if we just need to go that little bit faster. And by building the bridge, that actually allows us to completely take winged Pikmin out of the equation there. And just carry with grounded Pikmin all the way to the onion. Or to the Drake, I guess. And so the story here, if you might be confused, Louis touched down in Garden of Hope, ran away, blew up this wall, and now he stole our juice if we had any. So...
The only reason why we're unlocking the blue onion is because of an invisible wall.
Yes, and you'll see we will use blue Pikmin for exactly one thing in this run, and that is for the final boss. And even then, they're very much optional. So if that invisible wall wasn't there, and actually even if you can get past the invisible wall, which you can in a few different ways, there is... what they did is actually deactivate the loading zone.
Pie seems to be opting for that, for building the bridge. Rixoro seems to be not at doing so. But here we have another Captain Clip.
Captain Clip, and on Rixoro's side you just saw another long whistle. That one can be rather notorious for being kind of janky. They made it better in Deluxe, but on the Wii U version it was a nightmare. And very late into the run too. So here we first have to break this crystal on top of the Mire Clubs, and then right after you'll see that we are attacking this bulbous fruit on the head as fast as we can, while still keeping in mind there is a bit of a damage cap that we have to navigate in a bit of a weird way. But Rixoro did so very nicely, and now we will be carrying Louis again.
Let's see if I can match.
And Rixoro, because he did not build this bridge, he will have to first sort of distract this crab, who will try to eat the Pikmin and otherwise stop them. And then he will be giving Louis to the wings to carry across the gap. And he also left some grounded Pikmin over on this side, so after going a few more blues, because ideally you would have more than one for the final boss, you'll be taking these grounded Pikmin over because, once again, they are faster. It looks like Pi is struggling a little bit with this crab here. Of course, I'm not too familiar with that route in particular, but that crab can be a bit of a pain regardless of the route you take.
Now, day 7 and is a bit different from the rest. So day 7 consists of 2 portions. There's the escape portion, and then there's the final boss.
Yeah, so there is a new strat that recently came out. We will have to see if either of the runners go for it. Basically, day 7 gives you bombs, and bombs are very overpowered, especially with the final boss fight that is very random compared to other more scripted boss fights. So what that combination means is, if you get enough bombs, you basically don't have to fight the final boss. So one of our runners, Claris, recently worked out a route where you get 7 bombs and use all 7 of them at once on the final boss and kill it instantly.
So if you've beaten this game before, you will remember that this cave portion is extremely long and obnoxious. But there's a lot of shortcuts that you can take that will let you get through it quickly.
So right at the start, we'll be introduced to this mysterious gold figure known as the Plasm Wraith, who's sort of doing something to Olimar. So we get there and he absorbs Olimar, and so we attack him and rescue Olimar. And now the Pikmin are lost because they're idiots and they don't know that Euleri just came from the Drake. So they'll go the long way around. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So the first shortcut we'll take, it will be coming up pretty shortly. Rixoro's gonna get a paper bag here that on from below rather than taking the long way around. Getting that paper bag down can be a bit obnoxious, but
I don't care what anyone says, that trick is free. I totally did not mess that up in my own tournament race. Anyways, so
we have another shortcut right here, where we're just gonna build half of the bridge and throw a captain across. And it seems Rixoro's not going for bombs.
Yeah, so there are bombs both to the left and to the right here, and our routes now involve, well, the new route that Claris developed involves throwing one captain to the left, throwing Brittany across because the Pikmin are following Brittany with Olimar, and then just using a go here to get to the other bombs.
Pi getting a spicy spray.
I got a spicy. That is very nice for a final boss fight because it powers up your entire squad. And it looks like he didn't use one on the Markloff, so now he actually has 2 for the final boss fight, which is very nice. Possibly overkill. And now here on Rixoro's screen, you'll notice he just walked up that route. Don't worry about it, that route is floor. And now the Pikmin follow him up on the route. Now everyone's out of bounds.
So this room you're intended to build that blue bridge and then get out of circuits and then get around. But we can just climb out of bounds and go around it.
Yes, it is a very convoluted sequence, and we can just skip all of it.
You have to stay close to Pikmin, or else pathfinding will take over, and because there's no waypoints out of then and they're just gonna go back inbounds.
Yes, and that being said, grounded Pikmin are magic and can climb walls. So it's not the end of the world, but it is still nice to be able to not have to wait for them to climb a wall. And now here's the exit of the cave. Once the Pikmin exit the cave, the final boss fight will begin. And this is a Plasm Wraith. If you don't have bombs, good luck.
Well, it's pretty much a joke now.
So you'll notice he's spitting out these globs of plasm, as well as bigger ones that are what we call the elemental plasms. And
who's the worst one you can get, and like fire or electric is the best.
Yeah, so anyways, you have to sort of destroy everything and destroy these globs of plasm, otherwise the Plasm Wraith will absorb them. And Rixoro's getting a bit unlucky there. He, in lots of good fights, you can completely skip this sequence where the Plasm Wraith spits out 3 of those. Looks like he's confusing his Pikmin types a bit there. And anyways, Pi has also started the final boss. This is a very close race. Rixoro appears to be having a bit of trouble here. But regardless, he is now finished. And Rixoro is our winner for today, with Pi right behind.
Pi still has a chance of getting a personal best here, though.
Yeah, so you'll notice Pi's timer turned green to red a few times, and as long as it doesn't turn red before the boss dies, that means that Pi will have gotten a new personal best. Which is always fun. And indeed, Pi... Yeah. So, GG's to both the runners. Let's see if we can get them in here for a post-race interview.
Congrats to Rixoro for winning, and congrats to Pi for the personal best.
And while we were just waiting to see if there will be an interview, we can quickly check the brackets. I believe you can hit exclamation mark Pikmin 3 Deluxe, or the X, it should see in the title.
It's exclamation mark Pikmin 3. It's exclamation mark Pikmin 3.
Yeah, so you can go onto the... I just muted in the middle of talking. You can head on over there and see the brackets as it currently stands.
So Pi is eliminated, and Rixoro is heading into whose next opponent is to be determined.
Yes, and this is a double elimination tournament, so it looks like Rixoro's next match. Let me just find this here. Where are we? Hello.
Hello, hello.
So how do you guys feel about your runs?
I'm surprised that it was close. I thought it was really good. It was a good close race, even though I messed up day 3 again.
Pi, congrats on the personal best.
I'm upset about Olimar. He didn't go over the bridge.
I
thought he was gonna get. I thought he was gonna get taken for a second there.
Oh, did you not have Brittany on the bridge? Or did you throw her over and Olimar was doing the thing where he just kind of bounces at the end of the bridge?
Yeah, apparently. I mean, he was off screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to our viewers, that can happen. The Pikmin can just refuse to follow basic common sense and sit there until the end of time.
I mean, it's still a little bit challenging for Pikmin AI because, you know, the wings can fly over a bridge, but their game logic is like, no, the bridge isn't done, you shouldn't do this yet, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think if you leave Brittany like right at the edge of the bridge, it's easier.
Yeah, I don't throw Brittany until the wing Pikmin are like halfway up the bridge, usually.
I thought they already were, but I must have not then.
Yeah. I also had a pretty good Wraith fight.
Yeah,
aside from
I had
him
two
spitting
sprays.
out... Oh, you had two sprays?
I had a really good fight, yeah.
Yeah. I also accidentally missed the river walk in day 3 again, and had to redo that.
Really?
Rixoro, let's talk
Yeah.
about your day 3 for a moment. How do you feel after that day 3?
I'm glad I didn't lose 4 minutes like the last time I raced. I only lost about a minute and a half. Yeah, I think about a minute and a half, which could have put me on pace for PB, but honestly, I'm just happy that I recovered from day 3. I fell off the route, and then I walked back, and then I messed up the river walk, so that lost me altogether, I think, a minute and a half, maybe a little bit more.
Man, I'm just mad because I don't think I had any major mistakes in that run.
Pie, how do you feel that you PB'd twice this tournament?
I have PB'd every single run that I've ever done of this game, I'm pretty sure.
You just keep getting better.
Wow.
That's great. I golded day 5.
And neither of y'all opted for formidable oak bombs.
I have not learned that yet, but I did build the bridge on day 6, so I'm learning a few new strats.
Oh, I didn't even know of these new strats. Were these recent?
Yeah, very recent.
Okay, yeah, I've kind of been offline for the past few days, so.
Yeah, I golded day 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Nice. Day 7 was actually a little behind for me by like 6 seconds, even though that fight was good. But yeah, no, I felt good about this, and I'm glad that it was still close, even with me losing about a minute and a half. You know, it's a more interesting race when it's closer.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
I was worried the entire time.
That was a very close race, and both you guys did very well. So congrats.
Yeah,
I'm just glad I didn't get stuck forever on any of the clips or something.
Yeah, Louis was really good for me. I don't know about your Louis clip, but mine was pretty dang good.
Perfect, but still really good, yeah.
I feel like Louis clip's almost a little bit easier in this.
Probably a little bit.
Yeah, which is shocking because they wanted to prevent other things, but Louis clip, one of the most difficult things in the last game.
Maybe we've just gotten better.
Maybe. I definitely think using the cutscene, like the Pikmin don't know where to go cutscene, definitely helps it because it pushes him a little bit further than he needs to be, and I definitely like using that.
Yeah, that helps.
I had another question for you, Pi. For the Mirror Slug fight, do you try and grab a bomb for the fight or no?
I don't.
No. I saw Claris running that, which made me think of that. It's not like a huge time save.
1 second.
Yeah, it saves a second, if anything.
Yeah,
but I'm just kind of
kill him, but as he pops out anyway.
Sometimes you do kill him when he pops out. Sometimes you don't. I've gotten at times where it doesn't, but the bomb guarantees it.
Kill him down there, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, is there any other questions about the run? People satisfied with Pikmin 3?
I think that was it for me. Anthony, do you have anything?
Nope. This was a really interesting race to watch.
Well, in that case, for this stream, we will hopefully see you guys later. You can check out the bracket at !Pikmin 3. And it looks like the next race will be Ronald versus Colin tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. Or potentially something sooner, we will see.
Oh yeah, and I will be there.
Alright. See you later, everyone.
All right.
See ya.
Thanks for watching, guys.
See you,
Have a
everyone.
good rest of your weekend.